The 1960s were a war zone, not just on the streets of Detroit or the test tracks of Dearborn. This was a decade where horsepower wasn't just measured, it was weaponized. While the world obsessed over handling and heritage, America had one question: can it beat a quarter mile before you blink? And the answer? A parade of brutally beautiful machines that redefined everything we thought a streetcar could be. This isn't a nostalgia trip. This is a deep dive into the loudest, meanest, fastest machines ever to come out of American soil, ranked by one thing only: their quarter-mile time. Let's burn some rubber through history. 10. 1968. Ford Mustang 428 Cobra Jet, 13.56 seconds at 105 miles per hour. Before this, the Mustang was a style icon. With the Cobra Jet, it became a menace. It was born out of frustration. Ford racers were getting crushed by HEMIs and 396 Chevelles. Something had to change. Enter Bob Tasca, a Rhode Island dealer who proved that a big engine and a stock Mustang could humble anyone. Ford listened and launched the Cobra Jet quietly, almost sheepishly, at the 1968 NHRA Winter Nationals. The published horsepower was 335. Everyone knew it was a lie. It was actually over 400. This car wasn't about pretty lines or chrome bumpers. It was about lining up next to you, looking unassuming, and leaving you a distant memory at the green light. The Cobra Jet laid down a 13.56-second pass, on bias ply tires, mind you, and instantly flipped the script. It wasn't just a muscle car. It was a statement. 9. 1966, Plymouth Satellite 426 HEMI, 13.48 seconds at 109 miles per hour. It looked like a car your uncle might drive. But open the hood, and you were staring at Chrysler's secret weapon, the 426 HEMI. Nicknamed the Elephant for its sheer size and weight, the HEMI wasn't just a big engine. It was a high-compression, cross-flow head, twin-carb race unit masquerading as a street motor. 425 horsepower, conservatively rated, forged internals, deep-breathing hemispherical heads. It didn't whisper down the strip, it roared, clocking a verified 13.48-second quarter mile. Magazines called it unrefined. Enthusiasts called it unfair. But the drag strip didn't care about opinions. It cared about times. And this boxy, brutal satellite delivered. 8. 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner 426 HEMI, 13.32 seconds at 107 miles per hour. You could buy a Roadrunner with roll-up windows, dog-dish hubcaps, and a cartoon horn for under $3,000. But tick the right boxes on the order sheet, and you got something far more sinister. The same HEMI as the satellite, dropped into a stripped-down shell. This was the democratization of power. Plymouth marketed it as the working man's street racer, but on the strip it was anything but budget. Period tests from Superstock and Drag Illustrated showed it hitting 13.32 at 107 stock. The Roadrunner wasn't about finesse. It was about pure, violent acceleration. In an age of excess, it was a brutal minimalist. Everything you needed and nothing you didn't. 7. 1963 Chevrolet Impala Z11, 13.1 seconds at 112 miles per hour. Imagine showing up to a drag race in a full-size Impala and smoking everyone in sight. That's the Z11, Chevrolet's purpose-built NHRA destroyer. It didn't just have a 427, it had aluminum fenders, a fiberglass hood, and no radio, heater, or sound deadening. It weighed almost 300 pounds less than stock and ran 13.1 seconds all day long. Only 57 were made. Every one of them was sold to a racer. Not a single civilian got one by accident. To drive a Z11 was to enter into a blood pact with the gods of speed. It was elegance by day, executioner by night. 6. 1967 Chevrolet Corvette L88, 12.80 seconds at 111 miles per hour. The L88 was Chevy's worst-kept secret and most dangerous offering. They begged you not to buy it. Literally. It came with warning labels and no creature comforts. But if you knew what you were doing, it was a track killer. The 427 in the L88 was rated at 430 horsepower, but made well over 550 on race fuel. It had aluminum heads, a Holley 850 CFM carb, and a solid lifter cam that sang past 6,500 RPM. Even with stock tires, it hit 12.8 in the quarter. With slicks, much quicker. It didn't care about luxury or comfort. It cared about annihilation. 5. 1964 Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt, 11.76 seconds at 122 miles per hour. This was no street car. It was a factory freak. Ford took the Fairlane, deleted everything unnecessary, and shoved in a 427 high-rise dual-quad V8 straight out of NASCAR. They built 100 units, just enough for NHRA homologation. The Thunderbolt was fiberglass, plexiglass, and barely legal. It came with a handwritten warning: not for street use. Quarter mile, 11.76 seconds at 122 miles per hour. It was the equivalent of dropping a nuclear warhead at a soapbox derby. Magazines like Hot Rod couldn't believe it was real, but racers did, and they feared it. 4. 1965 Dodge Coronet, a 990 HEMI, 11 seconds at 130 miles per hour. Dodge didn't mess around with the A990. This wasn't a car. They built a missile. With acid-dipped steel panels, an aluminum front end, and bucket seats so thin they looked illegal, the A990 was Mopar's declaration of war. The 426 HEMI inside was purpose-built for superstock. High-lift cam, 12.5 to 1 compression, and massive dual Carter carbs. It screamed, snorted, and demolished the quarter mile in 11 flat. Some called it dangerous, others called it perfect. But everyone who saw one in the staging lanes knew they were about to lose. 3. 1968 Chevrolet Nova L78. You looked at it and saw a compact family car. But in 1968, the L78 Nova was a wolf in every sense. A 396 V8, solid lifters, aluminum intake, and no nonsense. Rated at 375 horsepower. Underrated, of course. When Carcraft and NHRA got their hands on one, they bolted on headers, slicks, and tuning tweaks. Result? A blistering 11.0-second pass. This was Chevrolet's punch to the jaw, proof that even the smallest shell could carry the biggest blow. No flash, no fame, just violence in a vinyl-wrapped package. 2. 1966 Shelby Cobra 427 Super Snake, 10.30 seconds at 133 miles per hour. Only 2 were made. One was destroyed. The other became legend. The Shelby Super Snake wasn't just fast, it was insane. Carroll Shelby took his already savage 427 Cobra and fitted dual Paxton superchargers. On drag fuel, it made 800-plus horsepower. In a car that weighed just 2,500 pounds. It had no roof, no windshield wipers, no forgiveness. Test driver stories include wheel spin in third gear at 100 miles per hour and white-knuckled runs to 10.3 seconds in the quarter mile. It wasn't a car. It was a test of courage, and most failed. 1. 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1, 10.0 seconds, tuned. The final boss. The ZL1 was never advertised. You had to know the code, COPO 9560, to even order one. Built to sneak a race engine into a street body, it came with an all-aluminum 427, developed for Can-Am racing. It made over 500 horsepower out of the box and cost double what a normal Camaro did. In stock trim, it was quick. But when prepared for the strip, tuned, slicked, and stripped, it hit 10.0 seconds flat. That's Bugatti speed in 1969. It was too fast for its time, too raw for its market, and too beautiful to forget. These cars weren't built to last. They were built to conquer. They came from factory floors, race garages, and backroom deals. And every one of them told a generation the same message: don't blink, or you'll miss it. Today, their names are legendary. But back then, They were kings fighting for inches on asphalt battlefields. The 1960s didn't just create the muscle car. It created legends. If that lit a fire in your chest, you know what to do. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more pure American horsepower history. And tell us in the comments, which one are you driving into the sunset?